weekly, our press conference style setting where we check in with Coach Clay Hendricks and a couple of players every week. Furman coming off of a 41-3 win at VMI back on Saturday, improving to 6-2 overall, 4-1 in the Southern Conference. Ranked 24th in the just-released Stats Performance Media Poll, and still just on the outside looking in the coaches poll, 26th in the receiving votes category. Saturday, back at Paladins Stadium, it's homecoming against 7th-ranked Chattanooga at 2 o'clock kick. More on the broadcast coming up in just a bit. With us, of course, is Coach Clay Hendricks, as well as defensive back Travis Blackshear and offensive lineman Jacob Johanning. I'll ask Coach Clay Hendricks to open us with a statement, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Again, as usual, I appreciate you being here. Certainly happy to be 6-2, and I thought very business-like trip. Win for us on Saturday up in Lexington, and just be able to play a ton of guys. Did some really good things. Have some things obviously we got to clean up. And Travis certainly had a great game to go with the great career he's had. And Travis, I was sitting there. I think he's about 6 weeks from graduation from Furman. But I think he's had a great career, and we'll need him obviously to play really well down the stretch. And then Jake played really, really well all year, as that whole group has. And but happy to have them with me today. But I thought I think first of all, special teams. Essentially, I think we've scored twice. I guess we didn't get credit with a touchdown Saturday, but to think we've scored 2 weeks in a row on special teams by our starting slot receiver on both plays, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if Wayne had a catch Saturday. Might have had one, but I just think speaks for him. Travis has been an integral part of those special teams, and just the buy-in those guys have given our football team, and the credit. A lot of credit goes to Coach Spangler and kind of the culture he's created within that group. Certainly was huge for us Saturday. We knew we would see. We were expecting an onside kick. I know they had a couple of fake punts called that I thought we kind of negated them wanting to do it. It was just going to be that kind of day. Offensively, I thought started a little slow, got a lot thrown at us, and I thought once we sorted it out, it was a pretty efficient day. I think Dom only maybe had 9 carries for the day. It was good probably to not have him have as many carries. And then defensively, I thought really solid, most of the day, something to build upon. And, certainly some things we have to clean up. I'm not very happy with some of the penalties. Some of the pre-snap, post-snap, and some of them I'm not really sure about. I'll address it like I always do, but there's some things we got to clean up. A couple of frustration penalties, and we just, that's not who we are. Can't be that, and won't be that. Won't allow that. So we got to clean some of those things up. But and certainly got an ultra-talented Chattanooga football team coming in here, playing really, really well, talented and well coached, and that's a pretty good combination. So they've had a heck of a year and coming off a heck of a win. But also, pretty exciting time around here to have them coming into our place this weekend. And it's been a while since we kind of had one like that here. And I was sitting there thinking maybe, 18, maybe the Wofford team was maybe about number 5, came in here. I thought we played really well that day. And we'll have to play exceptionally well this week to have success against this team. And just need to go out and have a great week of prep and get ready to go on Saturday. But with that, we'll open it up to any questions you may have.
Coach, how important was it for your defense to respond the way it did? And I think in that, getting into more detail, not giving up the big play. And I think they only had one where the reception might have been overturned over on the sideline. But just talk about limiting the big play. There were some passing yards, but I thought the red zone defense was really good. Could you just talk about that?
Yeah, it really was. Obviously the group we played Saturday was not nearly as talented as maybe the group we saw the week before. And I I go back to the week before. And I think it was 4 or 5 plays, at the most. And it wasn't like we played poorly all day. We just we made some major mistakes. I was happy to see our kids come back, from that. And I thought just really solidly getting after the quarterback, stopping the run. I think all those things were important. I was really pleased how our kids responded the week of practice we had. And again, we continue to play a lot of guys over there. That's a little bit who we are. Again, business-like and just trying to put us in position to be the position we're in this week, and we're in a really good spot. Now it's what can we go do with it, or can we take advantage of it? And only way I know to do that, again, go have a great week of practice.
Coach, it was kind of interesting to see Luke Shifley get the touchdown in there because Luke's a guy that's been around here for a long time. Doesn't he seem like he's a transfer still? It seems like he's been in Furman forever. And he does a lot of things that maybe don't show up at the box score, but it's just, you have Braden Gilby on that play too, and it's just like that using the best guys you got available and just limit the special teams. We're seeing it on offense even. And it just, I just wanted to kind of ask you.
Well, we even had a couple more in there if you check it pretty closely. But no, Luke has been a guy that, again, he's just, he's been injured a number of times, but he's always just shown production. He's always been a really good worker, and you just see him getting better and better. I think Drew Dudzik has done a great job bringing him along, and I know he had 3 or 4 catches. And somebody told me that actually was his first college touchdown. But no, he's done a really good job special teams. He's been one of the guys back there on punt team all year. Just kind of one of those unsung guys that does a lot of good things for you that you don't really notice. And again, I think his best times are still ahead of him. He's a guy that wants to come back and do the grad program. And certainly he's a guy we'd like to have back in that regard. But he stayed healthy and, played quarterback, was recruited to play quarterback at, in college. And, he's certainly got some skills. We've always kind of had a few little things for him available, if needed.
Coach, you were talking about explosive plays and how important was that one? You'd scored 3, and then Dominic Roberto gets that 57-yard run and good downfield blocking on that play too. How important was that in the ball game?
Well, explosive plays are always great. We'd struggled a little bit. I know they were throwing a little something at us that I knew we would see. But we'd hurt ourselves a couple of penalties, had a drop ball in there, but certainly that was a big play. And I think maybe it was at the next drive we blocked the punt. All of a sudden the game just changed quickly there. But, Dom continues to make big plays. I think I looked in this game from a year ago, Dom had 2 carries at Chattanooga. It was really after this game that we kind of finally made the decision, hey, let's get the guy involved. And so, but again, be able to limit him a little bit was nice, have a day like that. And I think we got some younger guys, that can help us in that room as well. But no, I think anytime you can create big plays. I know Travis's was later in the game, but I was really happy to see it too. So I think anytime you can create big plays, I think your team builds off those.
It wasn't perfect, but it was extremely decisive. And it probably became decisive with Dominique's run. It probably busted the game over. But entering a game that's going to be tense and tough against Chattanooga, what are the benefits of just beating up on somebody?
Well, we hadn't had many of those games. We've had, now you can look at it, we've been in a bunch of 4-quarter games, and I think this one will be a 1-possession game, may come down to the last possession. I think we've been in those games. I think we are a battle-tested group. But it is nice. We were able to pull some guys we hadn't been able to pull. We've had some positions certainly a lot thinner than others. I think the fact that we able to play as many, I think we had about 70 guys. I don't know if they all played, but they'll practice better this week. It'll pay dividends, going forward. Just some of those guys' experience. I saw Jaquan Smith. We just inserted him last week. Try to use the 4-game rule, and I know Coach Spangler was talking about the kickoff team. He's one of the first guys down the field. Now, luckily, we still keep kicking those things out of the end zone largely, which is nice. But, guys like that will continue to show up, and it'll pay off. I saw some young defensive linemen hadn't played at all. I think we've really only played one freshman that we've truly burned a year. I think it's Caleb Williams. He may be the only guy. We've played some, but we've tried to keep the 4-game rule intact. But we certainly got some guys that can help us these next couple of weeks.
Coach, I want to go back to Dominic Roberto for a minute, and then after that have Jacob comment on what it's like blocking for a guy like that. But Dom and I talked in the preseason, and we talked about him being benched for the Wofford game last year. And he freely admitted that was kind of the eye-opener for him. In his last 11 games, counting Saturday, he's rushed for 1,301 yards, 13 touchdowns. He has gone from completely off the charts down to the number 17 leading rusher in school history, and he's done the bulk of that in his last 11 games. From your standpoint, what changed with Dominic Roberto late last year?
Well, I think it's all been a little bit of a learning process for Dom. I think even he kind of changed positionally. You know, after Devin got hurt, which was the same game, you know, we kind of transitioned and we've changed a little bit offensively. I think he's still learning the position. You know, Dom's always been a great worker, just a great key, you know, just a go about my business, do my business kind of guy. He's always been that way. You know, I don't know. I mean, these guys can tell you sometimes that gets your attention. Different things get different guys' attention, but playing time really has a lot to do with that. And I've always known he had a chance to be a really good player for us, and he has been even before that time. He'd done a lot of really good things for him, and I think for us, we've learned a little bit more how to use him, really kind of how he fits into what we're doing. And I think what Coach Roper's doing now is, I think, even, you know, complimented that. Not to mention having a guy like Devin Abrams and a couple of the guys to, you know, rest him a little bit. So I don't, you know, the number, I know he had it to 25 carries a couple of weeks ago, but, you know, I don't think he's been a guy that we've just overrun either. You know, it's part of just growing up and maturity, and I think Dom probably would tell you that. But Dom's made of the right stuff, so that's never been a question. And, you know, maybe if that did help, I'm glad it did. Obviously, he's responded well.
And Jacob, just as the follow-up, offensive linemen don't get a lot of individual recognition unless you jump this count or get a holding penalty and your name is announced to everybody in the stadium. So is a run like Dom is on now, is that a badge of honor for you and the other guys on the line?
Yeah, I mean, I love blocking for Dom, and I know everybody in the room feels the same way. And it's actually, if you look at the tape, a lot of his big runs aren't blocked incredibly well. So it's awesome to have a guy. Right. It's awesome to have a guy that can go and get yards that aren't blocked for, and he's just such a big spark plug, I feel like, for our offense, really gets us going. And honestly, I feel like our offense is almost our entire identity is sort of built around our run game, and he's obviously a huge part of that. So,
Coach, in the fourth quarter, with the score being what it was, two scores were there early in the fourth quarter. People kind of knew what was coming the rest of the way. But you look down and Kendall Thomas, 7 yards a carry, Graham Robinson, 4.8 a carry, Jaquan Smith, 5.2 a carry. How satisfying is it to get those young guys in there and for them to be successful when kind of everybody in the ballpark knows what's coming?
Yeah, I agree. And Carson Jones was in there too, and first time playing. And, you know, we left Carson in there, you know, kind of purposely, maybe the first series or so with the old guys up front, just to give him a little better chance, because we know we've had some depth issues with that. But no, I think that's phenomenal. Mine Hicks is another guy who wasn't available. Hopefully we'll get mine back this week. That's played a lot of special teams. But no, feel pretty good about that room, you know, going forward. And the guys, like I said, up front have played really well. But, you know, I think the telling sign with guys, you know, with those backs, you know, what are they getting when you're not blocking them real good, you know? And I've been parts of groups that block really, really well, and you didn't have a lot of production. So it is nice to have some guys. That's something we've certainly been committed to in that room, you know, recruiting those types of players. And, you know, future looks really good for that group.
Travis, this is a Chattanooga team that has a lot of bigger physical receivers. I think you had an interception against them last year, but can you talk about facing what makes them different and just some of the challenges they present at wide receiver from what you've seen?
Yes, they obviously have some good receivers. Nothing that haven't seen before. Obviously playing against their previous teams' receivers who they used to have. Looking forward to this game. I'm just really keen on what they like to do the most, like what's their favorite route concepts and how they use their receivers and what get them going. and that's what be focusing on this weekend. Practice, have a good start with the prep. Whatever you do in practice, how you gonna play in the game. And I'm a true believer in what you do in practice applies over to the game on Saturday. And I'm just really looking forward to compete against them. And yes.
Can you tell us about the play and the interception and what you thought about it when you caught it and taking it out of the sideline for the touchdown?
It was actually kind of tough playing on that type of field. So like little transitioning issues. But I was able to get a good break on the ball working with the safety, Cam Brinson. I was able to get a good break on the ball, and I seen the quarterback looking my way. So I knew he was coming either my way or to the safety. The ball came my way. I just was able to track the ball and get my hands on it, and I looked straight ahead, see nothing but green grass. I had to get in there.
Jacob, I think Anderson after the game talked about early on VMI was jumping around on defense, and then Clay just mentioned it at the start of this. What were they doing? Were they making moves right before the snap so it made blocking assignments difficult?
I think it was a lot of post-snap movement, so we'd have some two-gap run stunts, which obviously messes with some of our zone concept stuff. But I think once we settled in and realized that that's the type of game it was going to be, we were able to sort that stuff out better. But, yeah, at the beginning it was difficult, especially because we hadn't seen a whole lot of that this year.
Clay, one of your staples you always talk about is to be successful at run the ball and stop the run. And looking at Chattanooga this week, obviously they've got I.M. Ford, who's a 3,000-yard career rusher. That's one of the things they like to do. So just talk about defending their run, defending him.
Yeah, I think we're built real similarly. I think we probably have a lot of the same little philosophies on both sides of the ball. I mean, I'm probably the guy that watches both sides a lot, but when you watch them play, they want to run the football. Obviously, the back, Ford is a heck of a back. I mean, he's the guy who told her, when you go tackle him, you better bring your buddy with you, and he's a hard guy to tackle. He's hard to knock off his feet. And really he's got some shape, but really power is where it really shows up more than anything else. And so I think that's where it starts. They were incredibly old offensive line a year ago. Had 7-year, 6-year guys. Lost a number of those guys, but they've added a ton of transfers. So I don't know a lot's changed there. I think the biggest difference for them has been the quarterback position. I think just took a transfer. He's playing really well. He's truly a dual threat guy. So he complements certainly their run game. They've got good receivers, got good schemes, but I think he's the guy that's truly made the difference for them. They've played good defense for a long time, and that hadn't changed this year. Like I told you, they got good players and good coaches, and you watch the game Saturday, Mercer. I mean, unfortunately, we've all been parts of those kinds of games before where they just kind of imploded. And, with 6 turnovers, I don't know if there's probably somebody that's won a game turnover 6 times, but it hadn't happened very often. And but again, credit Chattanooga. And I think that was a game maybe they felt like they probably should have won the last couple of years and didn't. I think that's one they maybe had circled for a while at home. And I hope our guys feel that way. We kind of you look at the game a year ago, we did absolutely nothing offensively the entire day. And our 5 minutes to go. It's one possession game. We got a chance, but we just couldn't do anything offensively. And so, I think we're certainly a different team than we were a year ago. And I know they're significantly better too offensively. And I think even defensively, we kind of think the same way. Their structure's a little different than our structure, but just the way they play, the way we want to play, I think there's lots of similarities. And then. I've been really pleased with what we're doing in special teams, and hopefully we can continue to build upon that because I think that'll be a big part of this game too.
Jacob, running the football against these guys has been particularly hard the past couple of years. Just talk about the offensive line's motivation going forward, and this probably is the most challenging D-line you've faced since you played Clemson.
For sure, they're pretty great up front. I think a lot of what Coach said on the previous question applies here because we know that we went out there last season and we had a very disappointing performance. So we want to sort of get back from that. And, you know, like I said earlier, our identity is the run. Obviously up front, we take a lot of pride in that. So it's a matchup of what I think is the best O-line in the conference and definitely the best D-line in the conference. So it's exciting.
Coach, not to continue to harp on special teams good play, but I did want to ask about Josh Harris going in at punt return. I think he had a couple of 16-yard returns Saturday. There's been months in the past where we've had 16 yards of punt returns. Just kind of, can you speak to his play set?
Yeah, you know, we worked Josh back there all year, and Callie had a little finger issue of that they were trying to working on, trying to get it resolved. And I mean, literally every day, you know, really there's three guys. It's Callie, it's Josh, and it's Ben Ferguson. Those are three that got to take all the punt returns. And Josh, we've talked about it. You know, Callie had been really solid, and you know, so certainly when that happened, it was kind of no decision. Certainly, Josh has some of the better hands on our team, and yeah, and it was nice. Again, we did a good job. You know, and certainly after we blocked one, they're probably a little more concerned about that. Again, you know, you watch the tape. I think they had a fake called on one of them, and then the guy decided to go ahead and punt it. So they probably weren't covering quite as well, which might have helped a little bit there. But Bo, it's nice to have. I mean, you think about that's a first down and a half you don't have to make, and people don't think that's big. That's big, you know. And the job Wayne's done on the kickoff returns, I think starting between their onside kick and the one we returned, you know, two of those, which they didn't kick off many times, which is a good thing, was the 45-yard line. So I mean, it's ultimately. You want to have really good starting position.
Well, it's a big game, Kevin. I have no question about it. And after the Stanford game, you had it in front of you. You needed to continue to take them one game at a time and win. I just want to ask both Jacob and Travis, how excited are you about this game coming up, and how much will emotion play in it? Do you have to keep that under control?
Very excited. I think we all know what's at stake here. But to your point about emotion, I think it's important to sort of set that aside. You know, it's okay to have that the week leading up, but come game day, you got to treat every opponent the same and go play your best game. But very excited.
Yeah, I feel the same way. We've been on the road a pretty good amount this season. Happy to be back at home in Paladins Stadium, homecoming weekend. So hopefully we have a good crowd out there, great atmosphere, because it's obviously going to be a great game, and we just looking forward to being back home.
Travis, in your remarks after the game on the radio, I think you referred to that interception return as being pretty smooth because you sort of saw it in advance. VMI had the fourth quarterback they've used in the game. I suspect maybe he wasn't that adept at looking off. In other words, you saw that pass coming, and it was more or less like it happened exactly the way you had it in your mind, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you, can you all, I guess the danger is when you jump a route is if that, it's not, you know, this person is not. I mean, like somebody looks like they're going the other way. But, I mean, you're the last line of defense or maybe more of the safeties, but you can't, it's not like people say, oh, I can't believe we keep giving up big plays. Well, big plays are hard to stop because you can't afford to let up a second and get a guy past you. But you're sort of walking on eggshells in the defensive backfield, aren't you?
Yes. Obviously, playing corner is really tough. It's a tough position to play nowadays in college football. You just have to be very true to that position because one moment you let someone free, it could be a big play, turn into a big play. Helps a lot, and it's just tough to play. Obviously, it's leading the preparation. Coaches, I got great coaches, obviously helping us in the back end, and it's great. It's fun to play once you feel comfortable, get comfortable with the game, and start knowing your responsibilities and how can you help yourself because when you get beat deep, the crowd just automatically assumes it's on one person, but most people don't really know how it factors into the corners. But I try to, as being an older corner, I try to help the secondary, let them know like next play mentality. Like especially playing in secondary, you got to have a next play mentality. Like no matter if you give up a big play, missed tackle, it's how you respond the next play because you never know. So I just try to help and apply that to my game too. It's a big factor and help me keep going, obviously. And yes, sir.
Travis, since you're on a roll, I'm going to stick with you for this one. Coach mentioned at the top that you're 6 weeks from graduating, and you decided to come back and play your final year here. And now all of a sudden there are 3 games left in this regular season, and your career, hopefully playoffs afterwards, but your regular season career is down to 3 games. What does it mean to you, and how does that motivate you moving forward in this final month of the season, knowing that you want to have some postseason to play to extend your career?
Yes, sir. It came fast. It came faster than I thought. But I'm proud I made the decision to come to Furman. Obviously, we're having a great season this year, and as of right now, I'm just taking it one game at a time, just trying to do what I could do for the team and just give my very best effort to finish the season strong, hopefully with a SoCon championship ring. And obviously hoping to make the playoffs and going on a little run, see what we could do. But as of right now, I'm just taking one game at a time, just cherishing every moment that I have with my teammates, and that's what I'm doing now.
Travis, I don't mean to. I want to give you a chance to catch your breath, but I wanted to ask a more veteran Bob, about this. You guys won 4 straight on the road. That last time that happened, y'all weren't on this earth. You guys, what does it take to have that kind of mentality to go and take care of business on the road? I don't care where you go. It's difficult. You don't have as much crowd support, obviously, especially on the road to a place like VMI. You get the long bus ride. Obviously, you get there the night before, but just kind of what's been the key to success on the road from your veteran standpoint this year?
We knew going on the road, it's always tough to win on the road due to many factors, less fans in the stands, and most teams usually have like a little home field advantage. And we always know, like, when we go on the road, it's a business trip, and we got one goal to go 1-0. So that's how we try to approach going on the road, just going to do what we have to do. And when we travel, the guys be locked in. We at meetings and stuff, like everyone's focused, and that's the good thing. That's how you know when the team's locked in and know we're going to handle business. And that's the one thing that I like about how we approach away games, just having the mentality to go 1-0 and head back to Greenville with the W.
Coach, you kind of touched on it earlier, but there haven't been a whole lot of meaningful games at this time of year lately. But there obviously were a lot in your career and on up into, the 90s and early 2000s. Can you talk about just having such a meaningful game at Paladins Stadium this time of year, and just sort of what you were thinking about earlier when you were kind of reflecting on that?
Well, I thought, when we came back here in 17, 18, 19, we did have some. And then, 2021 was kind of a blur. You kind of saw this one on the schedule down the road, and I knew they were going to be pretty good, and again, they wouldn't want to really, East Tennessee kind of led the whole game, and they did a great job on the road of getting a win there. That one could have easily gone the other way, just like some we've had could have. But certainly this is year 29 for me here. I've been fortunate to be a part of a lot of really good teams. We've been talking a little bit about getting getting in October and playing meaningful games. You get to mid-October and later and you're playing the meaningful games. I mean, there's just this different feel. I mean, even myself as a coach, and, you know, I've heard, you know, Coach Spanger, we were talking about it one day. There's just a different feel about it. And even going to VMI last week, we knew it was at stake for us to set this up. And fortunately, if you can win one of those, the next one's that much more enjoyable, you know. And so, I'm happy for our school. I'm happy for our football program. I'm happy for our alumni. We've got some great supporters, and I hope we'll have a great crowd here this week. But no, that's what it's all about. That's why you do it, you know. And yeah, the relationships and all these other parts of it. But you know, you want to go win and compete for championships, and certainly excited about it. And you know, I think just to look at where, you know, I get asked about the polls a lot. I said, you know, a little bit of lack of respect for our group, what they've done all year. You know, we had 8 straight games, 5 on the road. I think people got more credit for playing a bad Division I non-scholarship team than we got for going over and competing at Clemson the way we competed. You know, and you know, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's right. We've put ourselves in a good position. We don't need to worry about anybody. You know, and if we can get it done, we'll get it done. If we don't get it done, then maybe they were all right. I mean, they were all correct. I don't know. But you know, and then we dealt with the Sanford debacle, which we certainly have to own that one. But to say that wasn't totally different set of circumstances too. But we've got ourselves. We hung in there. We found a way, and shoot, we're excited to go play. Really excited to go prepare because that's what it's about. You know, Jake said it. We'll get to Saturday when the time comes, but we got to do the work, you know, leading up to that.
And Jake, talk about the offense a little bit, averaging more than 30 per game. You can run it, you can pass it. How do you feel about it? And is there a confidence on the offensive side of the football?
Yeah, for sure. I think we all know that we have what it takes to get it done, and it's just a matter of going and doing it.
Last week, you knew that VMI was going to throw it. You knew that Western was going to throw it. You knew that Citadel was going to run it. I would imagine that Chattanooga is the type of team that's going to try to bang you up front and set you up for the pass. And you're going to have to respect the pass even while you're geared against the run. I'm sure that has to be a more complicated way to prepare, Clay.
Yeah, I mean, anytime somebody's pretty good at both, you know, we weren't certainly as scared of the run last Saturday. We still got to stop it. You know, I knew Western was going to try to, and the next thing you know, they're running the quarterback like crazy, and we had a challenge with that, which really created some problems. I think each week is different, you know, and but for them, you know, if you don't stop the run or limit the run, I'm not sure you totally stop them, but if you don't limit the run, then you'll keep seeing that. But they're certainly good at receiver. I mean, I thought some of the biggest plays they had Saturday were short throws to receivers and missed tackles. You know, so tackling is going to be huge. I think when you see the talent that they have, I don't think anybody in our league is even close to them, talent-wise. But when you see that talent, it's when those types of things really show up. It's you know, tackling one-on-ones, which we got to win our fair share. And John mentioned, just like us, we've got to be able to run the football. And okay, how do you define that this week? You know, are you going to go rush for 400 yards against them? I don't think that's going to happen. You know, but you got to be efficient running it. And for us to do what we want to do down the stretch, and we've been harping on it, we've got to be balanced. And I think we've certainly shown we can hurt you in both ways, which I think we'll have to have any kind of chance to do things we want to do.
You've told me on the radio pregame each of the last 2 weeks you're still looking for your best game of the year. I would imagine that this would be the best time to have that best game, right?
It'd be a great time to do it, you know. And again, Dan, you know, I think we've played really well in all phases, but I just don't think we've kind of put it all together like I knew we can. You know, I'm not sure we'll ever do that, but I mean, that's our focus. That's where our goal is, and we've got, you know, again, we've got talented players too. We've got good schemes, good coaches, and but again, I think that's just kind of our goal is to go play our best football game, and I think our best football game is good enough. You know, if we do that, and if it's not, then I can live with that, but I think it will be, you know, if we can go play that way. And certainly, it'll be a big challenge. There's no question.
Any final thoughts or remarks from you or the players?
No, I'd just like to say, you know, obviously we're excited about this week. I hope Greenville, you know, the Furman community will come out. It'll be an absolute great football game and environment. And I know our kids are excited. We are as well. And, you know, looking forward to really a great week. And just again, appreciate you being here today.
Well, our thanks to Coach Clay Hendricks, offensive lineman Jake Johanning, and defensive back Travis Blackshear for joining us on this week's edition of Furman Football Weekly. I'll remind you that it is homecoming here at Paladins Stadium on Saturday against Chattanooga. Tickets are available. FurmanPaladins.com would be the easiest way to get those in advance. If you can't make it, the television broadcast is on ESPN+. And our radio broadcast via the Fan Upstate begins with the Pepsi countdown to kickoff at 12:30, and the game kicks off at 2 p.m. This has been Furman Football Weekly. For all of us at Furman, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you. So long, everybody. This has been a Jeff Schetzel and Hunter Reed production.